I figured you'd see Tenant today.
Yeah.
And I see they got. I was just looking actually. They got loads of performances. So, I mean, I might go and watch it tonight.
Yeah. You might need to see it a couple of times.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to Netflix versus Cinema, the podcast that is now 100% back in the cinema. Yes,
we're there.
Yes, my name is Tosin, and I am your host, based up in Coventry in the Midlands. Joining me, as always, on the Isle of Wight are Sharon.
Hello.
And Shaun.
Hiya.
Yes, you guys on the Isle of Wight. I believe that I think I sent you guys an email, and I've actually received confirmation from a friend of mine who does costumes today that there is actually a big production filming on the Isle of Wight at the moment.
Oh.
Have you guys heard anything about this?
It started already. Yeah, it was on Facebook, I think. The one you sent me, I haven't actually. I've looked at it and I've taken a full photo of me and looked at and I've passed it on to a few people, so there might be a few people that will try for it on the island. So
this is something starring Jared Harris and Kush Jumbo.
Oh, right.
Yes. So Jared Harris, he who will probably be best. Well, he was in
Chernobyl.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah, Chernobyl. Richard Harris's son. He was in Chernobyl. He started as King George VI in The Crown. And Kush Jumbo, who's in The Good Wife and The Good Fight. Apparently they're in it. And I had somebody today telling me, "Oh yeah, I was fitting him some trousers. I was fitting some trousers on Richard Harris. They're really, really sheer. You can see everything." So, so yeah, I have my spies on their set to try to figure out what's going on. But yeah, we are all back at the cinema because I went along yesterday in the Odeon Lux in Nuneaton had reopened, and I went along and I saw the big film that is going to get us all back into the cinemas, if we can understand it, Tenet. Yeah, I saw the film Tenet, and yes, and it was quite interesting. Like, you were talking about your experience of going to the cinema, Sharon. You were
yes,
talking about...
crunching and people around me. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, not even that. I think that Cineworld, from what you said, Cineworld seemed to have stricter sort of things than Odeon does, because when I got to Odeon, all that happened was that there was somebody there waiting at the door who asked you to please hand sanitize. So you went and you actually used the hand sanitizer. It was all touchless. It was quite nice, and they actually have masks. So if you show up to the cinema without a mask, they'll give you one.
Oh, right.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a bonus.
Yeah, if you show up to the cinema, they'll give you one. You still have to go and pick up your ticket from the ticket machines. So you book it online, but you go to the ticket machines to pick up a ticket. You can go do the food, but I never do the food, so I didn't go see what they have. But they said that they only have pre-packaged food, so there's no open popcorn or anything like that. They're pretty good in that the cinema is an Odeon Lux. And in the Odeon Lux ones, they're pretty, essentially, if you sit in one row, the people in the row in front of you and the people in the row behind you are about 2 meters away anyway. So
so it's like the deluxe cinema at Newport that you're familiar with, that sort of layout.
Yeah, it's like the deluxe screen, So every seat in this place reclines. Every seat is made out of some sort of like faux leather thing. So it's actually pretty good. And the only hairy moment I had was once when I was sat down there getting ready for the film, and a man and a woman came in and they couldn't find their seats, and then they stood beside me for probably about 20 seconds, and they stood not that far from me, and I just sat up in my seat and just gave them the look. I was like, "Don't
go away!"
I was like, "Don't you dare!" It's like, "Don't stand so close to me." And then eventually they were like, "Oh, okay, sorry," and they moved away, and I was like, "Okay, fine, okay, this is good.
Go away." The one thing I didn't notice if they had, because I don't know if you know, but the Isle of Wight is testing a new track and trace app with the NHS.
Yep. I've seen that.
There's a thing on it, unlike the last one. This one, you have a QR code that you can scan, and at different premises, when you go in, you can scan and you can basically check yourself in on the app.
Ah, that's a good
idea. I didn't find the QR code for Cineworld, so they might have one now. But we've got one at my church, so we can scan ourselves in when we walk in the door, and you're all, booked in on the app, but I don't
Yeah.
know if there is one at Cineworld yet. But I didn't see it if there was.
Yeah. Well, I didn't notice anything like that, audio. But then again, we don't have the tracking app here, so it wouldn't make any difference. So there's that, and I have to say, because I was going to the cinema, and it started throughout this lockdown. It's become a bit clearer to me how much time it takes to watch a film at the cinema, because I was like, I have all this time, I can do all these other things now. And I was going to the cinema going, I don't know, it's going to take quite a bit of while. But they, you know how they all have this, they have this Odeon intro where they had like a massive, the Odeon O, and it sort of like goes like shoo, and goes into the screen, and then the sound kicks in. And I have to admit, underneath my mask, I had a massive smile on my face. I had absolutely, I was like, oh my God, it's back. It is back. So yes, there is something about the cinema experience. So we are going to talk about, we have, for Netflix Cinema, for those of you who haven't listened to the show before and wondering what on earth we talk about, now we can do it again. We can go along to the cinema, watch a couple of things at home, rate them all out of 5, take the average, and we'll say who has won this week, where has our money been better spent, has it been on Netflix or has it been in cinema? And this week, obviously, we have the big thing that everybody's expecting to get us back into cinemas, Tenet. Shaun, you went to see Spree.
I went to see Spree so that we would have another cinema thing to talk about.
Yeah, thank you very much for that. You are a soldier. You're a good soldier. We like you around here.
We'll probably do that first to get it out of the way if we can.
No. We have to start with Tenet. There's no two ways about it. We have to start with Tenet. So, but
the thing is, I might be a bit limited on time. That's the trouble with me. So
no, don't worry. We'll give you plenty of time. We're gonna do this in 7 minutes. So okay, let's kick off. Okay, I'm the only one who's seen Tenet.
Right. Okay then.
We're gonna do this 7 minutes, and this might be easy or it might be hard because this is a film that is hard to say anything about. Not just because you don't want to spoil it, but because it's a kind of film that I think you would struggle to spoil because it's hard to understand what the heck is going on.
Oh wow.
It's really, really hard to understand what the heck is going on. And so what I did is I just wrote down, I came back from the cinema last night and I made a couple of notes that just to sort of like say, okay, what can I say about this? Number one, the music. The opening sequence has this sort of like pulsing music that I kind of love. It's a bit reminiscent of the music they used in Dunkirk. And I was like, that is great. Okay. And the way I got back, and when I got back home, the first thing I wrote about Tenet was, okay, my head hurts on Facebook. That's just what I said. And people were like, why? Tell us, what is it about? What's Tenet about? And the closest thing that I can describe this film as is like, the Rubik's Cube. The Rubik's Cube was big in the 80s, and there were some people who would take a Rubik's Cube and they hate the Rubik's Cube because they try it for like a minute, they can't figure it out, they throw it in the bin, they're never going to see it again. And there's some people who look at a Rubik's Cube and go, you know what? It's a challenge. I'm going to figure this thing out. And they will stay there and they will get years of enjoyment out of a Rubik's Cube because they stay to figure it out. Tenet is a Rubik's Cube of a film. There are going to be people who are going to be in there and after half an hour will give up. They will say, can't be bothered with this. This is a bunch of rubbish, and will walk out. And there's going to be people, this is a film that people are going to be talking about or having conspiracy theories about for 10 years after this film has been released.
Wow.
Because it's like Christopher Nolan. You know how some people complained and said Inception was too complicated?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Inception is kindergarten compared to this film. Inception.
Oh, wow.
Inception is a straightforward, rollicking Sunday afternoon yarn compared to this film. This film is
okay.
It's kind of like it's almost as if he has taken a lot of the different things that his preoccupations, like in Memento, his first one, but his second film, but it's the one that really announced him to the world. He has this 2 timeline thing going on where half the film is going forward and half the film is going backward. He kind of has that in Tenet, but it's all happening at the same time, and so as you can see, it's this might sound like spoilers, but trust me, you haven't seen anything yet. You haven't and people have always.
Well, you get that in the trailer. The trailer does indicate that some things are going backward in time because they do say up front, don't they? That you're not something. They're shooting bullets, aren't they? And he says you're not. What is it? You're not you're catching the bullets. You're not firing the bullets. You're catching them.
Yeah,
or something.
Yeah,
and that's when my mind went, ooh.
That is just the beginning, Sharon. Wait till you see the rest of the film. Wait till you see the rest of the film. There will be smoke coming out of your ears while you're trying to compete. I'll tell you.
I don't get it.
Honestly, it's a kind of. I was sitting down here and I was going, is this making sense? I don't know. I don't actually know if this makes sense. Like, Shaun, you know your whole thing about, I like the film, it made sense, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
This is a film where you're watching it, you're like, I'm not sure it's making sense, but it's Christopher Nolan and his stuff usually makes sense. For instance, you couldn't make this film as a first-time movie maker. The only reason you can make this film is because this guy has a reputation, and people are willing to sort of like go, well, it's Christopher Nolan. He usually does good stuff.
Yeah.
Therefore, we'll stick with it. I'm sure there's something coming up. It's the kind of film that, and there's even a bit in the film where someone has a blackboard and is trying to explain what they're going to do and all the different jumpy things that they're going to do with the central concept of time and all that. And you're like, this, I don't understand what the heck's going on. You need to go in with your own notebook. You need to go in with your own blackboard. You're going to end up with, like, when you have a wall in all these sort of films.
The crime wall
of somebody trying to catch a serial killer with all bits of string attaching. So if that happens there, then that's what you need to try and make heads or tails of what is going on in this film. But at the same time, it is really, really fun. Like, there are... It has got the set pieces, it has got the whole kind of stuff, and there's a kind of film that every single time you think you've got a handle on what the hell's going on, somebody says something else or something else happens and you're like, what? Oh, good Lord, I've got to go back to the drawing board. So if that happens and then this happens and all that, it's a film that is going to need multiple viewings to understand what the heck is going on. And I know people have often said that Nolan is like a Bond fan, but this film, it is the most Bond movie I have seen in ages. It is structured like a Bond movie. It pretty much has a pre-credit sequence, then it has something happens, and then it has a bit where they pretty much go to like a Q lab, and then it has going all around the world to different places to try and stop the world ending. It has all of that. It is a Bond film with added timey-wimey physics stuff on top of it.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's so I think all of his films, Interstellar, he went into physics. This, he goes in even more. Memento, he messed with time. This, he does it even more. Inception was all like high concept. This, he does it even more. This is the most Christopher Nolan of Christopher Nolan films that we've had. And I think with that, I'm going to stop. I have been trying to fight all evening going, was it good? Was it bad? Can I call it bad if I didn't understand what was going on? Because I think it makes sense, but my God, I got lost. I got so lost in what was going on. And you sit down for ages after watching this film going, hang on, so does that mean that when that happens, that also... No, but come on. But that would have meant to mean that would... But no, but it's a massive, massive Rubik's Cube of a film. And that is why I'm struggling to give it a rating. I think it's either a 3 or a 4. Sorry, Shaun, you were going to say?
Yeah, no. I just wondered. Well, it'd be interesting, 3 or 4. Perhaps you should see it again fairly soon.
To be honest with you, I think I'm going to have to see it again. I'm going to have to see it again, and this time, as I said, with a notepad. Ideally, I want a copy of it that I can pause, because then once they say a line, I can pause it. And also with subtitles, so I can be sure exactly what it is that they're saying. Because this is a film that needs to be studied to actually figure out what the heck is going on. I think at the moment I'm going to give it a 3.
Cool.
I think I'm going to give it a 3 because it is, like, as a friend, Peter Jenkins, he saw it as well. And he said he found it hard to get into because he was just kind of frustrated because he couldn't understand what was going on. And it is a bit cold, which is a very Nolan thing, to have a very, very cold film where you don't necessarily have an emotional attachment to anything. So I'll give it a 3. It is impressive in bits. Some of the set pieces there's one particular fight that... never mind. But anyway, I'll give it a 3. But let's move on.
Let's move on. Let's move on.
So now,
time is fleeting.
Time is fleeting. Sean has to get moving. Yes. So Sean, we're going to go to Netflix now. Are you going to tell us about Yummy? Okay. Tell us a little bit about what
I can tell you a little bit about Yummy. Okay, Yummy. It's this Belgian film. It's a zombie film, so it's in the zombie genre. So yeah. And I mean, it is in Flemish or Dutch. I'm pretty sure it's Flemish because it's like Dutch French. With a bit of English smattered in there. And basically, these people, they go into like a plastic surgery place one's for breast reduction. She's going for breast reduction, and she's got a mother who's going for a sort of nose jobby, and they got a bit of a dorky boyfriend who goes along, and they go to this hospital, and of course the man faints because he hates blood. He's got like a doctorship, but he hates blood, and so they put him in this room, and of course he sees this person sort of tied down and thrashing about, and then it just turns into mayhem, really. And there's lots of gushing blood, lots of zombie stuff, nothing really new zombie style, just major blood and some sort of, I don't know, interesting characters, I suppose. I think it's a humour, there's a lot of humour in it, and
okay.
So it's like a funny zombie flick, really. I wouldn't say it was particularly anything new. I would not. I seriously wouldn't think it's anything new. It's all the zombie tropes with a lot more blood. Like if people getting bitten and loads of zombies falling on people and biting them, and so basically, I suppose the humour works, and it doesn't feel like real gore as well. It's like, so when there's like loads of blood, it doesn't really look
does it look like CGI blood or something?
Yeah, it just looks like blood for blood's sake. Do you know what I mean? It's like just
gotcha.
They're like those Japanese, those Japanese films where it goes.
Where there's fountains, somebody gets cut and there's fountains just sprayed everywhere.
Yeah. So, and as I say, I would class this as a comedy zombie film, which comedy zombie films, I guess, is a bit like, what's that Simon Pegg one? Simon Pegg did
Shaun
one.
of the Dead.
He's done a couple.
Shaun of
That's
the
it.
Dead.
Yeah.
Sounds a bit like one I saw, which was Attack of the Lederhosen Zombies.
Oh wow, yeah. I that's a great title, isn't it? What a great title that is. So it's the case of I don't know really. I don't know what I could say much about this. So I would say that I didn't hate it. It was short enough. It was just like a 90-minute zombie flick with a load of blood and this exaggeration of this girl's boobies, like, and because obviously she done get them done or whatever, but obviously so it's strange old film, but quite interesting, being that it was in a different language, with subtitles. So, but nothing really new. So, but I would probably still give it a 3-star. I think I'd probably give this one a 3-star.
All right, so zombies with a Flemish accent. So
yes.
So all right, cool, good stuff. And because of time, that's it. 3-star. You're happy with Yummy, and now we go over to we go back over to cinema, and we go to cinema, and we see the other film that Shaun saw in the cinema, which this was you being a good, you being a good soldier, going, you know what, we need to talk about something on the podcast. We know we're definitely going to talk about Tenet. We need something else in the cinemas. The slim pickings. We'll go see Spree. So you went to see Spree, and from what I understand, I got a second.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hang on a second. I just got. Yep. Yeah, no. Okay. Yep. So this one we saw. So this was the one I saw at the cinema. I thought I'd take one on the chin, take one for the boys, take one, and girls. Sorry, I don't want to say. Take one for the people, for the podcast. And I went to see this Spree, and I did ask. We got a friend called Jonathan, Happy John, and I asked him.
John,
he goes, "No, I really don't want to see that." And I was like, "Okay." And I think I was the only one in the cinema. And I think I even texted him, "Yes, you were right. You wouldn't like to see this." Anyway, basically, it's a story of, I guess, this Spree. That it's like an Uber car, an Uber car.
Yeah.
You've got this young driver who wants to get loads of followers, and he's like, "Oh, I'm going to do the, Chris's blog sort of thing." And so a lot of it is on mobile phones, and he's got like about 3 people that watch him. So but what he does, he sort of shows them how to do. Basically, the passengers, he drugs the passengers, and then you never really know what he does with them, but obviously he disposes of them in some way, but you never actually see that. But he's still not getting any followers, so he's got a friend who's got a lot of followers, and he goes and kills his friend who's got a load of. So basically, this is could you say? It's about. Have you ever seen that Black Mirror episode where, she wants the likes,
Yes, Nosedive.
Where the likes,
With Bryce Dallas Howard, yeah.
Brilliant one that is. Well, it's a bit like this. He wants followers, so he becomes more and more extreme in some of the things he does.
Yeah.
And then, it's just silly. There's loads sort of split screen with phones saying, "What's he doing?" This guy's sick. So you're trying to look at like all the messages that are coming up of being followed, and So it was. I was so close. I was really, really so close to getting up and walking out. In fact, and then I got up and I walked to the aisle and I thought, no, don't do it, Shaun, don't do it. You've only probably, you don't do this. You don't do this. You've got to stick it out to the end. And I stuck it out to the end, and so it was dire. This is.
This is awesome.
I seriously don't even know if I could rate this one, Toes. I seriously don't even know if I could rate this. So I'll give this a 1, just purely. No, in fact,
as I said, you are a trooper. You had absolutely...
this is a film that before would have had like 1 week and disappeared. It's just because of the times we are in that it's still. Clogging up the screen.
To be honest with you, I think this is the 1 week that it's going to have. Even though there's nothing else on, I think this is the 1 week that Spree is going to have, because it sounds like it's trying to be like a serial killer movie, but for the new generation, and it's trying to do something like what does social media do, and like what you said in the Black Mirror episode Nosedive, like what is this constant? To what extent would people go to get recognition, or to get likes, or to get attention? And it sounds like it has an interesting concept at the center of it, but it seems like it was Shaun. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like it goes a little bit too teenage movie, like a little bit.
Definitely, definitely for teenagery sort of people. Not for me. You know what I mean? I was like, oh yeah, right, okay. And I was trying to read some of the comments, which were like, "What was this guy doing? Emoji, and all this sort of stuff all coming on the screen." And I'm like, "Oh my god!" But yeah, so it's about being popular. Maybe it's a social commentary. I don't know.
I think it's a social commentary. I think it's supposed to be a social commentary, but it's funny that you said that about that, because I had some friends who don't own a TV and they don't watch that much TV, but they were in a hotel recently, so they decided to watch some TV, and they actually switched on the TV, started watching things, and their comment to me was, "Oh my god, the world has gone mad."
Guys, okay, I'm gonna have to. I've got a couple of things to do. I'm still gonna listen to you. I'm just gonna put you on, and but yeah, so I've got to go and do something.
No problem. For those wondering what Shaun is all about, Shaun's actually working. When we talk about him being an absolute trooper, not only does he go watch terrible films for the podcast, he also is helping to get not just one school, but many schools on the Isle of Wight ready to receive their new bunch of students coming in and all that kind of stuff. So we're in a Zoom call, and what we can see is Shaun in essentially like caretaker's palace. And now he's walking around. He's got himself a walkie-talkie.
Got his
he's
mic
going up and down the place.
Yeah, got his...
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So Shaun, we'll speak to you later.
You will, yeah. And I'll tell you about Blackout next week.
Yeah, Blackout next week. All right. Bye.
Bye.
And so with that, Sharon, this could be the shortest podcast we've ever done.
I think, well, we're going to be... we may get it done in one Zoom session. How about that?
We might get it done in one Zoom session. So, we were going to... I was trying to get an interview in, because I think I'm still going to keep doing the interviews, but I couldn't get that sorted out for this week, so this might be the shortest one ever. But you know what? I think we just take the win. We take the win and we go. So now you go on to tell us about Killing Season, and you can have the 10 minutes or so that Shaun didn't use. Okay. Killing Season, go.
This is a 2013 film and starring Robert De Niro and John Travolta, that my brother came across on Amazon Prime. Yeah. So it's available to watch as a part of your Amazon membership. And I basically just didn't leave the room when it was on. So I'll tell you what it's about. It's set just after the Serbian conflict. Robert De Niro is a retired military man. He was an officer in the United States forces who has been as part. He was one of the UN forces in the Bosnian, Serbian, that the former Yugoslavian conflicts that bubbled up for years, and those conflicts were known for their atrocities.
Yeah.
And in particular in these villages where people had been living side by side, sort of Muslims and non-Muslims living side by side for years. And then when this conflict erupted, they basically, both sides did the most appalling things to each other.
Yeah.
And you have, Robert De Niro is a soldier who came in and encountered one of these villages where they had all the young men and had been massacred, and some of the women had been brutalized, and there had just been this atrocity, and their squad of men basically executed some of the opposing soldiers. They found this sort of like stormtroopers, effectively using a different wars pattern, but they were these sort of like elite fighting force of the other side, and it's hard to know which side is who's who, but they were Serb. And they see this sort of the aftermath of, they see this village and what's happened to it, and they see the men responsible. They thought, there's no time for arrest and war crimes in this situation. We're just going to get rid of them. And so they kill all of them. And one man gets shot, but it doesn't kill him. They don't realize at the time, but he isn't killed. And that man is John Travolta. And then 10 years after this conflict ends, he finds out about who the men were in the American soldiers, who they were that caused the death of his own men, and he goes and tracks him down, and then they have this sort of one-on-one pitched battle in some ways. They start off by, he pretends to be a hitchhiker who's got lost in the mountains. Robert De Niro lives in like the Appalachian Mountains in this isolated little homestead. And he spends his time sort of hunting and shooting and living basically completely off grid. And then John Travolta is like this man saying, "Oh yeah, I'm just hiking in the Appalachian Trail," and he goes, and Robert De Niro sort of meets him and they encounter each other. He doesn't know that it's all a setup. And then as the day goes on, sort of like there's this sort of cat and mouse begins where they start. It just turns into this battle of wits to see how they can outfight and outfox each other, and they sort of each to get the upper hand at different points where each gets hurt, each gets wounded, and it sort of culminates in these big confrontations.
So it's like a one-on-one thing in the wilderness kind of thing. Yes,
in the wilderness where they're both, hacking chunks out of each other. One gets shot with an arrow, the other one gets almost hamstrung, and they basically blame each other for all the ills of the previous conflict. And they sort of, it does reach a sort of conclusion at the end.
Well, yeah, so, you would hope so.
Yeah, so it does build up. So there's this ever-increasing sort of unpleasantness where they do just basically torture each other at different points, where each one gets this sort of upper hand, and truths are revealed about the nature of warfare and the nature of the consequences of warfare. So it's trying to be deep, but it's also quite brutal at the same time.
It sounds a little bit like there was a film with Toshiro Mifune and Lee Marvin, directed by John Borman, Something in the Pacific.
Hell in the Pacific?
Yeah, I think that's it, Hell in the Pacific, where it's essentially these two men during World War II who end up on this island, and one of them is Japanese, one of them is American, and then they're the only two on there, and it sounds like, how they start circling each other and trying to make life hell for each other.
Yeah, and they both end up refighting their war, their War of the Pacific, whereas this is like they're refighting the Serbian War. And yes, I think they both come to like that, war is hell, and there are no victors in war where there's all such brutality is involved.
Yeah.
So I think it tries to sort of have a sort of
worthiness about it.
It tries to go a bit deeper, but I think all the unpleasantness of like where they torture each other and sort of do all sort of horrible things, that makes you think you're actually you're trying to say war is hell, but then you're saying, hey, but it's also quite fun to watch people shooting each other and being nasty to each other. And so they're sending out this slightly mixed message. So it was actually, they both do their parts well. I mean, I know Robert De Niro, he can be very good, and then he suddenly does these comedies where you think, is this the man who was like the world's greatest actor of his generation? And so but he does deliver well. He's convincing as this sort of hardened man who's like tired of engaging with people, so he's withdrawn into the wilderness because that's the way he copes with. He regards everyone as being, at the basically, rotten to the core. So he deals with humanity's rottenness by withdrawing from it. And then John Travolta is like this man who's brutalized himself, and so he becomes a bit of a brute.
Yeah.
But yeah, they both play their parts very well. And again, John Travolta, he's one of these people who you forget that, Saturday Night Fever was very edgy, was very dark, and was very a powerful performance.
I remember when I finally watched Saturday Night Fever after all the whole things about Bee Gees and all that, and I remember I was like, whoa,
this is not a dance film.
Whoa, you mean this is not a musical? Whoa. Yeah. What the heck?
Yeah, it's not even about the dancing, is it?
No, it really isn't. It really is.
No, so you forget that these two men in their own way were like powerhouses of their generation. John Travolta, when he started off, was this powerful dramatic actor, but they both. And then he sort of did again, he's done some bizarre choices over the years, but yeah, so this took them back.
Earth.
Yeah. Hey, look at my dress. So yeah, they all have but they showed their acting chops in this. I think John Travolta maintained this sort of Serbian-esque accent all the way through. I'm not very au fait with the real Serbian accent, so I can't critique it, but he maintained it. So they both maintained the characters and were convincing in their own way. So can't fault the performances. But yes, I just felt a little bit of the mixed messages. So as a film that I'd never heard anything about before, an old film, 2013.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have chosen to watch it had I had control of the remote control that evening. But I watched it, and it was a reasonable night's entertainment, but slight mixed messages in the delivery of their anti-war sentiment. So I would probably give it a 3.
All right, cool. That's a 3. And, well, seeing as we only have 2 on each side, it shouldn't be that much of a shock who has won this week. Sharon, who do you think has won this week? Netflix or cinema?
Well, didn't everything get a 3? Oh, no. Yes, I think cinema pipped it because of the zombies from Belgium.
That was Netflix.
Failed. That was Netflix. Oh, wow. Then it was actually cinema that won.
No. The zombies from Netflix. Oh, the zombies from Netflix.
Oh, I'm sorry. Spree got the one, and the zombies from Belgium got. Yes, I've got my. It's Netflix and others as a winner this week. We got there in the end. There's only 2 choices. It had to be one or the other.
Yes. Netflix and
Not
Friends.
that complicated, is it?
Netflix and Friends. Our money is better spent Netflix and Friends. Although, as I said, Tenet. I don't know. It might be a 3. I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, essentially, anybody who's listening to this, go watch Tenet. Go watch Tenet and then come in. I'd love to do a spoiler podcast. It could be like a 3-hour thing while people try and just to try and decide, okay, what exactly is the film about?
What is it about?
What happens
I was very
there?
late coming to Inception because I'd heard all the hype and I thought, I just don't know that I can be bothered. And then when I actually watched it, I thought I really liked it. I thought it was very good.
No, yeah.
I was going to see this thinking, oh, yes, I'll definitely go and see Tenet. And then when I saw the trailer, I thought, oh, I don't know. I didn't understand the trailer.
Okay, don't go and see this film. Well, the truth is that when it comes Christopher Nolan movies, the trailers, they don't give you much. All his trailers do is tell you it's going to be a spectacle. We're going to say a couple of words, you're not going to understand it, and then there's going to be usually a Hans Zimmer score that goes boom, and that's a Christopher Nolan trailer. So you don't really know until you go see the film. Now, Inception is really good, but the thing is, the first time I watched Inception, I was fine with it. I did not understand when people were saying it was confusing. I was like, no, it was pretty straightforward to me.
Yeah.
Same thing with The Matrix. I saw The Matrix and I thought, I'm fine with it. It's straightforward. But if you had trouble watching The Matrix and making that make sense, if you had trouble watching Inception and having that make sense, you are going to struggle with Tenet. Don't go see this film. if you're tired. Don't go see this film if you are anything less than in tip-top, because it will tax your brain and you will wonder what the heck is going on. And it has this horror. It can be a little bit horrible feeling about it, where it feels a little bit like it definitely makes sense. It's just that I'm too dumb to understand it. And the person who's telling me this story is just so smart. So I'm just gonna accept that it makes sense, because whoever's telling me this is it must be so much smarter than me. He must be like a physics professor or something like that. So much so that a friend of mine, who is he was a junior professor at one point, an assistant professor, and he is a physicist. And I was like, okay, you need to go watch this film and tell me if it makes sense, because they talk about things that I'm sure that for you as a physicist, you'll just be like, oh yeah, that's a well-known physics. I get that. Yeah, get that. That's a well-known physics theory. I'm just kind of like, they have all these terms like, oh, that's inverted, that's this, that's that. Oh, well, there's a scene where they have a big, massive battle that is happening both forwards and backwards at the same time.
No. There is not enough pick and mix in the world, I think, to make heads and tail of that.
Honestly, I really, really, really like this about Christopher Nolan, that he is not afraid to do things like this. He's not afraid to do things like this. Like, everyone's going to be sitting down there scratching their heads. He's like, that's the point. And I respect that. I have to admit, I respect that. So yeah, Tenet, I gave it 3. I will go watch it again, and maybe next week it will be a 4 or 5 even. I don't know. But it's a film that I was watching going, I can see why he wants it. People are going to have to watch this more than once to figure out what the heck is happening. And on the subjects of Americans doing European accents, there's a film on Amazon Prime that I think I'd quite like to see what you think about it, called How to Build a Girl, that I started watching.
Okay, I've seen that. I've seen the thumbnail.
Yeah, it's based on the Caitlin Moran book, How to Build a Girl. But it stars Beanie Felstead as a girl from Wolverhampton. So
that's an interesting accent to try to do.
It is. And seeing as that's not that far from me, I'm watching it going, I don't know about this. But anyway, until next week, when we will watch something, I might watch Tenet again. I might watch Tenet every single day until then to try and figure out what's going on. But I know I'm definitely going to watch The New Mutants in cinema, because it's a preview screening, and I've been waiting like 3 years for this film. It's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from me.
And Shaun might not hear us. He might be off. I think I'll just say and it's a goodbye from Shaun. Thank you very much for joining us on our shortest ever episode.
Yay.